What's going on, guys? GregglesTV. I have had the LG G6 for 24 hours now, and I want to tell you what I like and what I don't like about the phone. So let's get to it. Let's talk about the things that I don't like about first, just to get those out of the way. And the most glaring thing, which is kind of a funny word to use for this, but is the lack of brightness for this phone. Now, this is set at medium right now, and if I lower it down even lower, like some people might want, it's very dark. And then it only pretty much looks normal at the ultimate brightest setting, which if you have it at that, it's gonna kill your battery life very, very fast. For anyone that knows, if you put your brightness to 100%, your phone's screen is working harder, and screens are generally the biggest use of battery. Now, another thing I don't really care for about this phone is having this fingerprint button on the back. Now, I don't mind the fingerprint button being on the back, but what I don't like about it is that this fingerprint button also acts as a home button to, activate the phone screen, but also it's the power button, it's the on-off switch. And that's what I really don't like, is that it's the on-off switch for this phone. Now, I'm so used to the power button being on the side or at the top of a phone that on this LG G6, it's on the back, so that definitely takes some getting used to. It's not the end of the world, but it causes a little bit of frustration. Next up would be storage. Now, this is a flagship phone for LG, but the internal storage is only 32 gigabytes. Sure, you can add a micro SD card, but 32 gigabytes for a flagship phone is very, very low, especially when it's the only device that they offer in most places storage-wise. So I really would expect 64, but really I think at this point, a flagship phone, if it's gonna be the only phone you have, should have 128 gigabytes. The next thing I don't really care for about this phone would be battery life. Now, I had the phone only for 24 hours, and I don't even have all my apps installed on it, and I made sure I did a restart of this phone earlier on in the morning, but the battery life died very, very quickly. By the time I got home from work, I had about 15% of my battery left, and again, I didn't have many apps installed on this. Normally, with something like my Pixel XL, when I get home, I have about 45% of my battery left. So it goes to show you that there needs to be some kind of optimization for this phone in order to get better battery life. Now let's talk about some things that I'm just okay with. First up would be the camera. I love the wide angle. I think that's one of the coolest things you can have on a cell phone camera today, would be that kind of GoPro wide angle for video and photos. The other thing I don't really care for on this phone is that the actual pictures are just okay. They're not as good as the Pixel XL or some of the other phones from Samsung. Next up would be the sound of this single bottom firing speaker. It's nothing to write home about. Now let's talk about some things that I really like about this phone. The first being that it's IP68 water resistant, meaning you can go underwater for 30 minutes at 1.5 meters, and you can drop it in the toilet by accident. You can wash it off under the sink. You can talk on the phone in the shower or in the rain and not be concerned that this phone is going to get fried. It's a very nice thing to have. Even if you don't go swimming and capture underwater footage with your phone, just having that security of being able to drop this phone in water is a great thing. This phone is fast. I really not encountered any lag with it. And again, I don't have all my apps installed, but after 24 hours, opening apps, opening the camera, just going around the UI, everything I've done with this phone has been very, very quick. Connecting to Bluetooth has been faster on this phone than any other phone I have ever used. I don't know why, but it's very, very fast connecting to anything Bluetooth. The Bluetooth doesn't cut out at all. I have been having some issues with my Pixel XL in terms of Bluetooth, and this one is rock solid in my car with my Bose headphones. I've just been very impressed with the speed of this phone. Another thing that I quite like about this phone is the simplicity of its design. It looks really simple and it just flows together really nicely. Nothing gets in the way. It's a lot of screen on the front with not a lot of bezel, and then on the back it's just a slab of metal and glass with a couple of cameras, and it doesn't look that bad at all. I actually quite like the look of it. You got USB Type-C charging, you have a headphone jack. It's got everything you'd want in a phone, but none of the stuff gets in the way of its beauty. Now, another thing I like about this phone is the screen, and that kind of contradicts my very first point in this video, and I'll tell you why. The very first point I said is, hey, this screen is not bright enough. But when you do push it up to 100%, the screen looks really, really nice. Is it the best screen I've ever seen? No, but it's very clear. It's got very nice colors. It looks great. I actually really like the screen. I just wish it was brighter, but overall, very, very nice screen. And the last thing I really like about this phone is probably one of the most important things is the software customization. Now, you can do a lot software-wise. At the bottom of this phone, you have all those software buttons. You can rearrange them, you can add to them, so you have way more buttons at the bottom to make your phone able to be used much easier. It has a knock-knock feature so that if you double tap on the screen, you have the ability to wake it up and unlock it on the screen as well. It has themes, so you can change the look and the font and the colors of your menus and the phone UI overall, which is awesome, which is a lot like some of the other big phones that we have on the market today. Now, in conclusion, how do I actually feel about this phone? I think it's a really, really good phone. It's a very solid phone. I don't think it's as good as the Pixel XL, and from what I've used so far, the Galaxy S8 or S8 Plus, but it's a very, very good phone. I would say it's, maybe third or fourth best of the phones I've used in the past year. It's a really, really nice phone. The screen's nice, except for the brightness, unless you put it up all the way. The battery life is just okay. The sound is just okay. It's got great software customizations. Talking on the phone is really good and clear and no issues with that. When I was using video chat, it looked really, really good on this phone. No issues with that as well. Now, if you're looking for an alternative to the iPhone or a Samsung phone or another Google phone, this is a great alternative. It's really gonna open your eyes to another way that another Android manufacturer makes phones, and this is a really, really solid, good phone overall. If you guys wanna pick this phone up, I will link it in the description down below. If you have any questions or comments, leave those down below as well. Thanks for watching, guys. I will see you down the road. Peace!